like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This channel's primary focus is on true crime. We will be looking at quite a few interesting cases, and I am so happy to have you here along with me for the ride. If this is your first time here, please take a moment and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to set your notifications to all so that you're notified when I add new content. Okay, guys, let's get into this one.
Tell me what you did when you took her from her work. What did you put around her neck and what did you do? Tell me those things.
So when we left from there, we got into the car. I draped the shoestring around her neck. We left from there.
You say you draped it around her neck. You just laid it around her neck? Or did you pull it around her neck? What did you do?
No, I put the shoestring around her neck and held the ends, but that was it. It wasn't tied or anything, just held the ends of it.
Why did you do that?
Just to not allow her to go any further.
You are Eric Dene.
Guys, this is the parole hearing for convicted R-wordist Eric Dennett.
Allow her to go any further.
You are Eric Dene. You're classified as a first felony offender. Your DOC number is 380958. You're here this morning requesting a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in April 1997 in Jefferson Parish for an aggravated rape conviction, and you received a life sentence. Mr. Dene, is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Merrill.
Good morning, Mr. Dene. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Mr. Dene, how old are you?
I'm 51.
How long have you been in prison on these charges?
Since May 17, 1996. That's
How long is it?
25 years and 11 months.
You've accomplished a lot while you've been in prison. I've read your record. It's very impressive. Tell me a little bit about your education accomplishments while you've been in prison.
Since I've been in prison, I've earned my associate's degree from Cypress Bible College in 2008. I earned my bachelor's. Then I went on and earned my master's. From there, I went to my doctorate of divinity, doctorate of theology. I went to finish with my PhD in religion at Cypress Bible College. And then I went on to also do my doctorate of Christian education with Shalom. During that time, I also attended the paralegal courses that we had to take here. That was kind of like in conjunction with LSU and North Shore Community College. Regularly, I take college courses just to brush up.
Did you assist as an inmate counsel with your paralegal certificates?
Yes, sir. I've been inmate counsel since 2008, January 2008.
Tell me some of the courses that, some of the programs that you have taken that you believe you have benefited from. I mean, you've told me about your education. Tell me about some of the other programs that have been helpful to you.
The courses here at Angola.
Whatever courses you've taken since you've been there. I mean, I understand you've taken anger management, 100 hours of pre-release, Louisiana risk management, sex offender treatment. Tell me which programs you believe have been most helpful to you and why.
I believe all my programs offer, a lot of assistance to me in self-rehabilitation and becoming a better person. CPR has been a great course for me. I learned a lot taking my HIV peers class. All my courses benefited me. My anger management. Most of these classes that I've taken, the sex offender treatment program, I took levels 1, 2, 3, and the 4th level I assisted with facilitating it. So
tell me about what you learned throughout the sex offender treatment program, specifically as it relates to what you're in prison for.
I learned, okay, so I learned exactly how to deal with the situation, have more understanding towards the situation and what the victim had to go through as a result of my crime. So I got a better understanding of that as it relates to.
What's that understanding? Tell me what your understanding is. Because I've read some of your comments and we'll talk about those in a second. But tell me a little bit about what your understanding of what the victim went through in this case.
In this case, specifically, you know, how she felt in the during that time, in that moment, you know, and as I learned more and more about it, grew in my knowledge, I look at, you know, how I felt or what I was going through at the time and didn't look at hers. And this is kind of like my argument that I presented to the court before. But over time, I started to understand that how she actually felt was how the crime was, not what I was thinking.
You prepared some statements. When did you take sex offender treatment?
I took that, I think it was about 2001.
Now, you prepared your pardon application after that, didn't you?
My pardon application, yes, sir, was prepared in 2019.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you today, and I'm going to ask you to be honest with me. Tell me what really happened here, because I've read what you've said, and it's not quite what you're saying to me now. So tell me what happened. Tell me what your recollection of what happened is. And I've read the letters from the victim as well. So I've read it all, and I'm very interested in knowing what your perspective is today about what you did.
Okay, so on that particular morning, I got up intending to go to work, check my records. I had my own business then. So there was nothing I had going on for that day. So I wanted to spend the day with my
drinking, drugs or anything?
Excuse me?
Were you drinking or doing drugs or anything?
No, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
That morning I was getting up to go to work. So I got up, I left from home because I didn't have any work. So I went to explain to Dion that I would like to spend the day with my daughter. During that time that I went there, we got into an argument, turned physical. I did hit her 3 to 5 times. From that point, you know, we left. We went to Bell Chase, went to eventually Gretna to motel, and we had sex. And that was the point that I was explaining that it wasn't, you know, when we had sex, she didn't want to.
That's not just have sex. You were convicted of aggravated rape.
Yes, sir.
You just had sex.
I'm sorry.
Now, there's an allegation that you had a shoestring around her neck and you forced her to have sex when you were in that motel room. Your application seems to suggest that isn't the case, that it was consensual. Here, 10 years after you take sex offender treatment and you're aware of what victims say, I'm reading you to say, well, she could have left, she didn't resist, she didn't do any of these things. Now, how does that jive with what you learned in sex offender program?
It took more than just
denying you had a shoestring around her neck? Are you denying that you forced sex upon her?
No, sir.
You did in your application. Why? And that was just a couple of years ago.
I had an opportunity to really reflect on, I mean, not just the sex offender course, but my college courses that I did take in psychology classes. And I realized, you know, there's more to just, you know, the crime itself. It was more of what I was thinking during that time. And that's exactly where I went
Why
with.
don't we start
But
again? Tell me what you did when you took her from her work. What did
So
you
we-
put around her neck and what did you do? Tell me those things.
So when we left from there, we got into the car. I draped the shoestring around her neck. We left from there.
You say you draped it around her neck. You just laid it around her neck? Or did you pull it around her neck? What did you do?
No, I put the shoestring around her neck and held the ends, but that was it. It wasn't tied or anything. Just held the ends of it,
Why did you do that?
just to not allow her to go any further or anything, you know.
Right. Then what happened when you got to the motel?
So when we left and we got to the motel, we got into the room. We discussed a few things, but you know, I just elected that I wanted to have sex. We had sex. Well, I had sex. She didn't want to. So
You forced
I'm
yourself.
sorry.
You forced yourself on.
Yes, sir.
Do you really believe that? Or are you just telling me that today because you think that's what I want to hear? Because you certainly didn't write that in your application.
Well, as I said, in 2019, when I did my application, there was a lot I was still working on with myself, and you know, knowledge helped me out a lot, helped me to understand better exactly how the victim was feeling in this situation.
What have you taken since 2019 that helped you change your mind? What courses have you taken or what programs have you taken that have helped you change your mind about it?
I've been taking my PhD in aesthetic counseling. So I'm studying, you know, different counseling classes and different psychology classes within this.
Now, I understand that you had a diagnosis, I believe, of PTSD. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you take medication for that? How were you treated for that?
No, sir. I talked with Dr. Gamble concerning this, and the treatment he gave me was, you know, we just do a monthly review, and he discusses things with me, actually my condition, where I'm at, how am I feeling.
What is your relationship now with Miss Lytle,
I'm sorry, who?
Dion Lytle?
Oh, Lytle?
Lytle?
Lytle, yes, sir. We have no communication, none.
Have you spoken with her since this all happened?
I spoke with, the last time we spoke was in 2014 at my previous pardon board hearing. Prior to that, she visited several times, but nothing since the last pardon board hearing.
Did you ever discuss with her or request that maybe she back off a little bit about how the actual crime occurred?
I'm sorry?
Did you ever discuss with her that maybe you really didn't rape her and maybe it was consensual? I mean, as you've written a number of times in your documents, I mean, I see that she has written a couple of letters saying that, whereas her testimony in the trial was certainly much different. So I'm curious, was there any discussion with you and her about what really happened?
No, sir. I never discussed it with her. I never guided her in any way to say anything. I just, whatever she says, I just allow her to say.
You've had 12 write-ups in 25 years, which is very good. Your last write-up was in 2005. You are low risk. You do have law enforcement opposition. Mr. Myers here, and he'll speak to us. Where would you be living if you were released?
With my mother in Baton Rouge.
Okay.
She lives in, I believe, East Baton Rouge Parish. I don't know very much about Baton Rouge, but yeah.
And what would you do in terms of, I mean, you've got a lot of education now in the faith ministry. What would you do if you were ultimately released? What kind of work would you do? What would you hope to do?
I would work with Amos Cormier, attorney at his law office, as a paralegal.
Warden, can you give us any information about Mr. Dene?
Yes, sir. Senator Dene, I'm not very familiar with him, which is not necessarily a bad thing. He has been, as he stated, inmate counsel for us since 2001.
2008.
2008, I'm sorry. He has been a Min B, which is the highest level that he would be able to obtain as far as custody because of his charges. Being in that capacity as inmate counsel for as long as he's been in, I can only deduce that he's done well with helping a lot of other offenders in their legal needs throughout the course of his work here.
Thank you, Warden. Appreciate your comments.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mirabella. Mr. Roche?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Dene.
Good morning.
Good morning. Dene, you said that you hadn't spoke or communicated with the victim since 2014. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Prior to that, she made regular visits and you have a family together. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We share a daughter together. Who is now,
In a report that you said, I see a lot of pictures with the victim and your daughter and some other relatives doing visits at Angola.
yes, sir.
So tell me why the communications were broke off.
It was broke off because of a legislative act that the victim couldn't come and visit. It was only through warden approval after that. Rather than going through the lengthy course of it, it just no further did she come after that.
But is there any communications with your daughter?
I've spoken with my daughter a couple of times. I speak with my oldest daughter more, but my youngest daughter with Dion, she doesn't live with her, so my communications with my daughter is different.
Saying is, do you communicate with the daughter that you had with the victim?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
When is the last time you communicated with her?
It's been maybe about 3 years now.
So you really don't communicate with her that much.
No, not that much, sir.
Is there a reason why?
No particular reason.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. I don't see any other questions, so we'll hear from your guests now. We'd like to hear from your mom first, Miss Joyce Dene.
She's on hold to get in.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am. Tell us what you'd like us to know.
Okay, to the members of Louisiana Pardon Board, I'd like to speak in behalf of my son, Eric Dene. My name is Joyce Brown Dene, and I'm speaking on behalf of Eric. Eric is basically a 1998 graduate of Beerus High School in Beerus, Louisiana. He was very talented at sports in high school and was strong academically, but he decided to join the U.S. Army instead at age 17 and went to active duty after basic training. He was transferred to the Middle East in Desert Storm. He served until 1993 as a system operator. I was upset initially, but ultimately his father and I both supported him in his decision. We are a military family. Eric's father was a Navy CB. He died on February the 10th, 2019. His sister is in the U.S. Army and now works as a microbiologist at the VA Association. His brother was also a U.S. Marine stationed in Japan. I love Eric unconditionally. I am proud of him despite the fact that he is in prison. And for this, I know that he is truly sorry for his actions on May 17, 1996. Eric has taken every opportunity available to him to better himself. I last saw him a few months ago before Christmas in 2021, but we always keep in touch by phone and email. In fact, he called me weekly to check and see how I am. He has accomplished a lot since being incarcerated. While incarcerated, he received different degrees, master, PhD, and doctorate degree from Cypress Bible Institution in Van, Texas, to which I am very proud of, with a GPA of 4.0 in 2016. He has a desire to help. He is a very dedicated person. He follows through, and I'm proud of him for his accomplishment. He is an overachiever. He has worked constantly since his military service as a self-employed sports fisherman in early 1966. He had his own business in Venice, Louisiana. And throughout his incarceration at state prison, where he's in the Veterans Guard commander, I know that Eric is truly sorry for the offense that happened on May 1796. In closing, I'm asking and hoping that the board will consider Eric's record before and during incarceration and what he can accomplish as a citizen outside of prison, and give him a second chance. He has family support, educational support, and job support. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
We'd like to hear from Ms. Zaketa Danette.
Good morning. My name is Zaketa Danette. I live at 6320 Cumberland Way, Biloxi, Mississippi. I am the owner of Cornerstone Home Care Services and also New Me Beauty, Spa, and Wellness. I have a bachelor's degree in healthcare management and associates in nursing. I've worked in the medical field for over 25 years. Eric is my brother. We're a 4 years age gap. Eric has always been my biggest supporter, from opening my business to naming my children, even from behind the bars of Angola. He still does what he needs to as a mentor for our children and our family. He's a very important member of our family as a big brother, an uncle, and a son. My son, Darian, was a rebellious teenager. Eric would mentor him and influence him in a positive way. My son and my nephews look up to Eric and listen and respect him to the highest degree. Eric and I have kept in touch over the years through phone calls, through JPay. At one time, we were talking every day. Now we talk on a weekly basis due to the cost. He has worked so hard at his own rehabilitation and has been a model inmate. Eric has earned several degrees, with the greatest one of being a doctor of philosophy with his PhD. He has also encouraged me to go back to school and get my master's at 47, which is really hard, but I have completed a lot and made a lot of progress. I'm actually 6 months out. He has also have a family circle of support that will help him to be successful when he comes home. I believe that he has served significantly more time than necessary. Eric is not a threat to society. He is very remorseful for his prior actions. We know he will serve an asset to our community and to our family. And I also would like to say that Eric is very smart, that he has created a program that we just had the prototype sent to us for him opening his own, coming out with his own alert service. So Eric is very, very talented. So please consider all of his accomplishments to ensure that his return to society. Thank you.
And thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry I mispronounced your name, Zakita.
Zakita, yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Esteen.
Yes, hello, good morning. First, I want to thank the board for allowing me to speak in Mr. Eric Dene's behalf. I met Mr. Dene in 2003. We were both members of the Vets Incarcerated. There, he had demonstrated great leadership and the utmost respect for his peers. In return, he was given much respect. With the same leadership skills he displayed in the Veterans Organization, he brought to the Angolas Legal program. There, he achieved a lot, even the impossible in some cases, and mine being one of them. My case had received a lot of media attention with the local newspaper as well as NBC Dateline. Eric was responsible for all of that. He wrote that writ that gave many nonviolent people a second chance at life, and I am one of them. Now, being here today is the least I can do to support a man that helped me gain my freedom back. And I like to say this about Eric. He displayed a character, a beautiful personality. He will give the shirt off his back. He put others before himself. He is a family-oriented type man, and he loves the unlovable. And it is my prayer that this board considers Eric's mitigating factors over the years that had been there as he used to rehabilitate himself and give him a favorable decision today. And again, I thank this board for allowing me to speak on Mr. Eric's behalf. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, sir. We'll hear now from the opposition, Mr. Randy Meyer.
Good morning. That's where I get Randy Meyer, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish. And we remain opposed to Mr. Danette's request. Listening to him today, I'm not quite convinced that he's accepted responsibility for the crime he committed. We look back at what Ms. Lytle testified to or spoke to at the last pardon board hearing. It was clear that this was not consensual sex, that she felt fear that she was going to be hit again if she didn't comply and have sex with him. And his comments today have not convinced me that he really accepts that, that he really feels that it was consensual sex. He was convicted of aggravated rape. He was convicted based on her testimony and the facts that were presented. He has a history of domestic violence, particularly against Ms. Danette. For those reasons, we are opposed to his request.
Meyer, we appreciate your participation. So before we turn it over to Ms. Myers, Ms. Eric, is there anything you'd like to say to us?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to say that, I believe that man is not defined by a single action, but he's rather through his character and his actions over his lifetime. I don't wish to diminish the crime or make it seem as though it didn't happen. Okay, I'm really a lot nervous right now, but I offended my victim. I offended my family. I offended my friends. All these people supported and loved me. To each and every one of them, I want to say I'm sorry. As I've grown in knowledge and wisdom, I spend these days trying to become a better person, better than I was the day before. I've committed myself to helping others and who are not able to help themselves. I do this on a daily basis, trying to help guys who can't read, who can't write, who just need some type of assistance. So this is something I've done in prison, and I would do once, if I'm returned to society, try to do better things for my community. just be, more of an asset to my family and not a burden to anybody. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Myers.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, board. I work on Eric's case pro bono because of Eric's extraordinary track record and rehabilitation while at Angola, and because of his dedication to serving others. Eric has produced incredibly high quality legal work as an inmate counsel, and this is acknowledged by the Louisiana Center for Children's Rights, who wrote a letter of support as well. Eric and the victim, Ms. Lytle, were romantically involved twice during their lives, first as teenagers when Eric was 16 and in high school, and when Ms. Lytle was 18 and in technical college. That was prior to Eric's service and deployment to Saudi Arabia for Desert Storm, where he was in combat and where he got his PTSD. They were then involved a second time when Eric returned from his military service. Prior to this offense, Eric and Ms. Lytle had their daughter, Ms. Tajere, who was a small child when the offense happened. She's now 27 years old. Following up from Mr. Marabella's question about how Eric's understanding has developed about how the victim felt while she was raped, Eric has spoken to me about this during my visits with him at Angola, and he's expressed an understanding to me about Ms. Lytle's fear and her powerlessness as she was raped. He shared with me that he has an understanding about the shock and pain that she felt as she was hit multiple times in the face before the rape at her work when they hadn't moved to the motel yet. And he also spoke about the pain he caused her at his being an unfaithful partner to her. Eric takes full responsibility for the harm and fear he caused Ms. Lytle in 1996, and he's not before the board to dispute the record or deny that he raped Ms. Lytle. Following up on Ms. Roche's question about the victim no longer visiting him since 2014, according to family friends of the Dene family, Ms. Lytle did not attempt to obtain an exception to that new legislation preventing victim contact because she remarried and she's not shown up today, I suppose for that reason. But she did submit a letter in 2008 saying that she supports him being granted relief by the board. We're now 25 years since this offense occurred, and Eric's family, friends, and the victim support his release. Eric continued to work on himself following his 2 previous clemency denials by this honorable board. And through these disappointments, as well as the death of his father in 2019, Eric has continued to moderate his emotions and behavior using the skills he learned through programs at Angola. Rather than feeling defeated by these denials and by his life sentence, he's gone on to be the first man at Angola to obtain a PhD, and he does work tirelessly as an inmate counselor and minister. Eric's rehabilitation and dedication to self-betterment and service to others is commendable, and he is one of the most trusted men at Angola. I have faith that Eric will take the most of an opportunity like that, and I pray this honorable board deems it appropriate to recommend clemency for Eric today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. All right, I think the board's prepared to vote. We'll start with Mr. Marabella.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Jeanette, let me say you have accomplished a lot while you've been in prison. There's no question about it.
Thank you, sir.
Education, as your lawyer has pointed out, is second to none. You've done some good things while you've been there. Your disciplinary record is admirable, only 12 write-ups in 25 years. I've just got some concerns about really your understanding of what you did. You're a very intelligent man. There's no question about it. You know all of the right things to say. You have a very good lawyer. She spoke very eloquently for you. She said a lot of things I wish I would have heard you say. She also put in her brief that you did, in fact, forcibly rape this lady and that you did have that shoestring tied around her neck, while you have denied that all along. Even in your application in 2019, suggested this was consensual. She had every opportunity to leave. You got out of the room 2 or 3 times. I just don't think that you have accepted really and truthfully what you did. you might have in your head, but I don't think you have in your heart. So I've got some real problems. Based upon all of the things that.
Now, I'm not sure what type of courses they offer SA offenders, but in Eric's case, I don't know that he actually understands the gravity of the situation when he committed this crime and how his victim felt at the time of this assault, or how she feels currently about his potential parole back into society.
Based upon all of the things that you've accomplished, based upon the fact that your lawyer is working with you to try to recognize what you probably should be feeling. My vote today is going to be to vote to recommend to the governor that your sentence be commuted to 99 years and parole eligible after serving 27 years. You've got 25 in. So I would encourage you, if the rest of the board goes along with me, I'm only one vote, I would encourage you to retake some classes that talk about victim awareness. And if I'm on the parole board when you're back up at some particular point in time, and I'm convinced that you do understand and you do feel the way your lawyer said you felt, then I might vote to parole you. But today, that would be my vote, Madam Chairman. That's
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. Mr.
I vote to grant his parole and commute his sentence to 99 years.
Ms. Jackson.
All right, Mr. Dennett, I've listened to you. I wish you had articulated a little better the impact of this crime and the magnitude of the actions. I don't know to what extent the PST diagnosis might have been a factor in this offense. It's certainly not an excuse, but it certainly could have been a factor. But you have an excellent disciplinary record, you have good programs, you have devoted yourself to helping other inmates as inmate counsel, and the victim supports your release. She has actually come to the prison with your daughter, and she has visited you there, and she has written a letter to support for your release. And so if she can do that, then I can vote today to recommend a commutation to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Rushing.
Mr. Dennett,
Yes, sir.
I will be very honest with you this morning. If this were a parole hearing, and you have not accepted full responsibility for your actions, you have not this morning, I'd probably vote to deny you. Because I feel that the first act of rehabilitation is to take full responsibility for your action. In your closing statement, you said you offended the victim. You didn't offend the victim. You raped her. No means no. Whether or not you're in a relationship, whether or not you have a daughter together, at any given time, a lady says no, it's no. And you forced yourself on her. You didn't offend her. You raped her.
Yes, sir.
So in between this time and the time in which you're eligible for parole, you should search your mind and come to the realization that you committed a crime. And you should own up to it.
Yes, sir.
My vote is to commute to 99 years with parole eligibility after serving 27 years.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Mr. Dene, my vote, based on the family support we've seen here today, the good remarks by the warden, the fact that the victim is supportive, and that you have devoted yourself to helping others through your work as an inmate counsel. My vote today would be to make the recommendation for a commutation of sentence to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we will make the recommendation that your sentence be commuted to 99 years. We all agree on that. But the majority agree on immediate parole eligibility. So that's the recommendation we're making.
Thank you, ma'am.
Eric Markeith Dennett. Eric was convicted of aggravated R-word on February 27th, 1997. After serving 26 years in prison, he was released on August 4th, 2023. He is currently residing in the East Baton Rouge, Louisiana area, and he is also registered as an offender. Guys, I want to have a moment of silence for Eric Markeith Dennett's victim. Who is no doubt a survivor. Okay, guys, thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to drop me a comment, smash that like button, and share. Until next time, guys.